washed out. What is going on here? Hold on, let's see if we can fix this. Maybe is that a little better? That looks a little better. Am I coming in clear? All right, guys. So, before I do anything, today is fish news you probably won't use. But it's interesting. And the first thing I need to say before I say anything else is that I have a friend by the name of Chattanooga Ed and another friend by the name of Kenny E over at Danikin Aquatics and his wife Danny as well. And they are doing a giveaway if Chattanooga Ed reaches 1,000 subscribers tomorrow evening. And he's close, which then would allow him to monetize and also like stream from his phone and have a lot of different functionalities that you just don't get unless you do monetize or hit that 1,000 mark. Even if, regardless of that, he can also get super chats and things like that are nice things to get, right? So, yeah, and Danny and Kenny have some killer shrimp at the moment. So if you guys haven't checked out Chattanooga Ed's channel, Chattanooga Ed's Fish Room channel, I recommend that you check it out. And if you dig it, subscribe. He's frequently tag teaming it with James on Fish Room Fever on the late night Fish Room show, and then or Fish Room Fever. And also the nocturnal feeding show. So I mean, he's just a great guy, and I think the fact that they tag team it and he goes second sometimes, they do the first half of the show 1 hour and the second half the other hour. The first half of the show gets liked and followed, and then people forget the second half. They just follow it. So yeah, just check it out if you've got a minute. And he's just a real nice guy, and I just wanted to pass that little bit of news along in the first opening moments of the show. And maybe you'll win some free shrimp if you then check out Danikin Aquatics, Kenny's stream later. So, what's going on, everybody? It's good to see everyone. Do I have a super chat that I detect? I detect a super chat, and I was not even here. Hello. Peplin says, could you please give Chattanooga Ed a big shout out? Oh, yes, I can. Thanks for the super chat. You didn't need to pay me for that, but thank you. I appreciate it. I just got my bill from when I was in the hospital, and even with insurance, it came out to $1,150. I was like, yeah, thanks, hospital. For IV and antibiotics, basically. All right, let's see here. We got another super chat coming in from Danikin. It says, thanks, Alex Seudeman. Speaking of Danikin, Kenny, and Danny, yeah. All right, well, it's good to see everyone in here. You guys know how this monthly segment goes usually. I've collected and sorted through. I have to admit, this month I found a website that makes my life easier. It lets you put settings in and then look for scientific articles, scholarly journal articles. And so you can put like freshwater fish and then set a date parameter, and it then turns them all into like articles. They're not well written articles, they're just articles. I do have to make a rather somber announcement, and that is that this is all the Dr. Pepper I have for the entire show today. We'll see if I make it. Oh, I thought there was something in it, but it's just... Okay, never mind. Alright, Alex, no more machinations of the mind, sir. Okay, and now we have another super duper chat that looks like a very odd amount. Where are we at? Oh, T-Bone! Another $15, or another $5, so we're up 15 now. Okay, I see what happened. It translated the Australian money in the little total now. That's interesting. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it greatly. So yeah, yeah, paying bills is like pulling teeth. Yep, and I also, that was what happened after I went to the hospitals. I had to go get my teeth pulled. That caused that. What's going on, Jason at Redfish Bluefish? We got another super chat. Can you rub your tummy, pat your head, and sing the "I'm a Little Teapot" song? I can, in fact, do that. I'm holding my little gimbal at the moment, but I can do the pat and the rub at the same time. But I can't do the thing where you take your fingers and you spin them one clockwise and one counterclockwise. I never can do that. But yeah, so yeah, such is life. Oh, jeez, we got another super chat already. That is from Isabel. Thank you so much, up in Canada, for Dr. Pepper. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, these super chats, as I've said, they definitely do help add up at the end of the month when you get that little check that pays out from it. So I appreciate it, and I try to also take some of the money and literally just give it right back to other super chatters. Not other super chatters, other YouTubers. Spread it around that way, So today we've got a menagerie of stories for y'all. So why don't we jump right in? I normally say hi to everyone by name, but we've already got like 80 people in here or something. So Rico Stan, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I really appreciate it, and I also enjoy your profile picture. Also, if you can thanks, man. And I like that little laughing pair with the let's get physical looking workout outfit on. Kevin Leong with another super chat. Need to live in Europe. Father tore his Achilles and went to the hospital in Europe. It was only $100 or $200. It's insane how much it is here. Yes, I went to Paris. Quick anecdote before we jump in. You guys know that I'm known for that, but everyone also knows that the video doesn't really start until 10 minutes in once we've got everyone loaded into the room. But I went to Paris. My wife and I, right before we got married, we were in Paris, and I landed, and my whole jaw swelled up, like big, like cartoon squirrel looking jaw, and I felt terrible. I had 104 fever. This was before the lightning or anything jacked up all my teeth, but in any case, it was bad, and we went, and we only had 4 or 5 days in Paris at the start of the trip, and then we were gonna make a trip around. But I was like, we were in a hurry. There was no time to be sick, and so I tried to just play it off like I was gonna be okay. But I was out of it by the time my fever hit 102 or so. I was starting to fever dream see stuff, and just pouring sweat. We were in the Louvre, and I looked like I was gonna drop. I was just white, ghostly white, and shaking. And so we went straight from there to the urgent care place in France, in the middle of Paris. And they immediately figured out it was my tooth. I knew it was my tooth. And they looked at it, and they did an emergency root canal, and then they medicated it. They did x-rays. And then they also did a filling on the tooth next to it while they were in there. And when we got out of there, I was, a little woozy. I'd had nitrous oxide or whatever. And they were like, the man spoke thick French, and I speak a little bit of French, but, with money, it was a little bit hard to understand. And he was like, I'm sorry, but it's going to be 4 or 5. And so I thought he was saying it was going to be $450, and I was like, that's so cheap. That's totally fine. Like a root canal here in Washington, I mean, it costs $1,000 easily, even with the insurance usually. You know, when all's said and done, root canal buildup, and then I get a crown, whatever. It's like almost 2,000 usually, or 1,500 even with what they kick in. And then that maxes out, and then it goes up from there. So it's like, you know, 2,500 for all that. But there, they did a temp and everything, and they said that, yeah, he was like 4 or 5 euros, and he was like so sorry. I had to pay $45 basically, and that was for antibiotics too. Like they had a pharmacy downstairs, and I was so confused. I thought when he was saying he was so sorry, I was like, 4,500? Like that's, I'm not paying $4,500 for this. This is ridiculous. And then he's like, no, no, no. And I was like, oh, $450? Yeah, that's a great deal. And then he was like, no, no. And I was like, so it is 4,500. And it blew my mind that they could do all that for $45. And he was sad that he had to charge me because I wasn't a citizen. Any case, let's get past that. Let's get on to fish news you can use. The last thing I'm going to tell you before I do this, and I'll probably post some pictures maybe in the community tab, but I actually yeah, Jason's comment. 45 euro, punches window, sets self on fire. Yeah, pretty much. So we had our landlord come, and he doesn't know that I have this many fish tanks. Yeah. So he only knows I have one upstairs, and so he asked for pictures of this room first. And so we got boxes like this, and I just disguised everything. I don't know how I pulled it off, but I got pictures to him where it doesn't look like we have a single fish tank in here. I'll have to show you guys like the optical illusion I pulled off with no Photoshop, just some sneaky pictures. I wasn't that worried because he's like a useless landlord as far as like we've had black mold and we've had all sorts of problems, and he never takes care of it. So after a while, I was just like, you know what, we're gonna get fish tanks. The mold was before the fish tank, so it wasn't from the humidity. And actually, it's not been a problem. It's like we over humidified it, and now the mold drowned. I don't know if that works, but okay. So in any case, thank you so much. I saw another super chat come through. Jason, please help. I cannot get rid of staghorn algae. Oh, yeah, staghorn sucks. Tried peroxide and tons of water changes. I'm ready to wipe the tank clean and throw out everything. Thank you for your knowledge. Well, you know, I totally feel your pain, buddy. Let's go over this real quick because, you know, I see the super chat. Money talks. I've got the same thing going on in my new tank. I have never had staghorn algae more than just like a strand of it. And yet I have it in this corner. Well, not just this corner. I mean, it's establishing random spots, and I'll cut it off the rocks and it'll keep coming back. But yeah, it is occurring in this tank as well. So, I mean, really what you have to do, and it's not fun, it's not super easy, it sucks, is, I mean, from my experience, you just have to go in and do the things that you would do to get rid of normal algae. You know, do the keep doing the water changes. Take your light. It helps if your light is extreme, if it's strong. So I have like 2 lights running right now. I have a 3.0 and some. And that is because I really want to blast it like 6 to 8 hours a day with light. And that's how I'm getting this carpet to form. But while I'm doing that, the carpet is forming great, which is nice on this finally. But as you can see, the staghorn algae is growing. So far, nothing is eating it out of my normal squad. So what I've been doing is I've been going in with scissors and literally cutting it myself with a turkey baster ready at hand to get rid of it. But honestly, the syringe with hydrogen peroxide is the only thing I know how to do as far as treating an area like a rock or any hardscape where it comes out. get a water bottle, hydrogen peroxide, and just spray it. Take it out of the tank and let it turn orange, and it'll turn orange and die. But all you can really do is keep the parameters right. I mean, adding gaseous carbon is helpful, but obviously it doesn't cure it, but it does keep it kind of contained, keeps it dense. And then just make sure you don't let it have the energy that it's asking for, basically. That's really the main thing. Oh my goodness, Xanadu, thank you. And I see we've got a guest here, guys. We've got Joey, the king of DIY, going on. Thank you so much, Joey, man. I appreciate that. I've been watching your channel for oh so many years. So I really do appreciate that, man. Welcome. It's great to see you, buddy. And thank you, Geek Boy, for joining the channel. I really do appreciate it. We should probably get to fish news, because I said I was going to do that. But, Joey, really, it does mean a lot, man, that you've stopped by and said hello. It's been a heck of a run lately with my my health lately, and then losing the teeth when I got struck by the lightning and all that stuff. It's all just added up. But my wife and I finally got a house. We're getting room for tanks. It's our first house. We're really excited, and I mean, it's just super exciting. So let's get on to the fish news that you probably won't use, but it's interesting. We'll do the segment. I've been talking and blabbing so much, but there's so many great people in here, and thank you guys all so much for all the super chats and all that stuff. Really appreciate it. But yeah, Joey, it's great to see you. That's awesome. It kind of comes full circle when in your head you've got somebody that I mean, I'm gonna be building my own fish room, and when he did his own like wooden fish tanks, plywood fish tanks like 10 years ago online, I was like blown away. It blew my mind that you could even do that. Like, it didn't even occur to me. And yeah, and then also, you guys know I deal with I struggle with sobriety and things like that, and Joey's been very forward about the changes he's made in his life since he was a young man. And I mean, it's a good, I mean, it's nice to know you're not alone. And when I hear that from other fish keepers and other people who've made the change, I've made that change. It was 12 years ago now since I quit drinking, but I'm still committed to it. And fish keeping really can save your life if you're down, depressed, lonely. It really can. So thank you all for being a part of this awesome community. And of course, thank you, Joey, for stopping in, buddy. And before we hop into the fish news, I know I said this like 3 times and then didn't hop into fish news, but Chattanooga Ed, check out his channel. He's a great guy, and he's almost at 1,000 subs. I don't know how he's not at more, honestly. It's one of those things where people just forget to sub, I think, because he's very great at answering questions, and they do how-tos. They do lectures, like classroom lectures on the late night show oftentimes, like where they'll come in and they show different kinds of fossils, or they show different substrate underwater and show what it does. I mean, him and Fish Room Fever, James, they tag team it and do a great job. All right, guys, let's get into this. So, the first piece of news coming out of February 2021, somebody can make the comment below that says, video starts at 20 minutes in, because it does. Sorry, guys, my bad. But it is that fish don't just get suntans. They actually, they use the ultraviolet light to determine the time of year and where they are. So they were looking at salmon and other fish that are migratory, and they were wondering, how in the heck do these fish know where they're headed? And it was University of Vienna is who did the study, And the study was started on bristle worms, which are terrifying, terrifying creatures. Hold on, I gotta show you guys what a bristle worm looks like. They are basically what the movie Tremors is built on. Uh, they're just scary looking critters. Um, but all right, let's flip this around. So they've got like mandibles or graspers, and then they've got a mouth that comes out and like basically rips whatever they were eating out. And they can get like up to, I think, 6 feet long is the biggest species. Any case, they're just terrifying, terrifying little critters. But they've figured that they have really easy genetics to understand. And so that's why they started with them. But then they started looking at other fish and things. So for those of you who are part of the channel, and you know what, today I'm a sucker. I do it a lot, I know, but I put out the sources in the community tab. So if you guys want to read these articles later, if you want to see the scientific journal entries, basically the lab work, the papers behind it, and the footnotes and their research and related papers, that's all in the community tab for you guys. That's something I wanted to start doing more, and so I've been doing that with the fish news every month in the community tab. But the UV wavelengths says part of natural light exposed consists of ultraviolet UVA, UVB. A short wavelength part and a long wavelength part that is missed in most artificial lighting. So far, most research on seasonal cycles has focused only on light intensity and day length. In contrast, previous assumptions we discovered that in addition to day length, the intensity of UAV, UVB light influences the seasonal responses of hormones that allow them to spawn in the bristle worm as well as in other fish. So this study then went and looked at danios, it went and looked at other things. Someone else carried out those studies, but you can find them if you search. Vienna did it, and then another great person in the field of Resnick is his name, in the field of studying guppies, a professor. He's down at USC Riverside in California, I believe. He used to be up in what do you call that place? Canada, Vancouver, BC. The University of British Columbia has a great guppy genetics program. So yeah, great work there. Jamie, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Just see the super chat. I really appreciate that. Thanks. She says you are an asset. Thank you. I am an asset. You can buy and sell me and trade me on the open market. You can use that Robinhood app. Do what you will with me. I am yours for the taking, people. So the interesting note here is basically that hormones are controlled, and by lighting in a lot of cases. And we knew that about certain animals. We've known that about plants, obviously. But it's interesting because, there's lights that come with the setting of, like, thunderstorm, and everyone thinks that's just really kitschy and silly. I actually don't. And I don't think that also having the room totally black, like no lights in it at all, and leaving a window open, because the moon passes where it shines into our house here for like 3 hours at night, a few days in the month. And when it's close to the full moon, I love it when it does that, because it just really illuminates everything in this room with this nice glow. But my shrimp bury up. It's every 2 months, like on cue, I'll have half of the females berry up, and it's around the full moon. And I think part of it is that I really do allow total darkness in this room other than the light coming in the window. Which is, there is some ambient city light and stuff like that, but the moon actually does shine in, which is, I'm so fortunate that this room is like that. And I used to put the tanks all right up by the window, if you guys recall way back. So I think there's some truth to that, and I can see where it's definitely clear if you want to spawn fish, that if you know there's a low pressure front coming in, so you know that there is, going to be a big rainstorm or something. Right before that hits is a great time to do a cold water change, or right as it starts raining, for like Corydoras or anything that spawns from like monsoon triggers. It's just, that works really well for triggering the cycle of that stuff. So I would just add that to the bag of tricks, or at least the bag of thinking about things. Your lights, it probably depends if they have UVA or UVB intensity. Like if you're growing frags for coral, you probably have some of that light around, or if you have real specific grow lights. But if you're just working with little tank lights that are just inexpensive LEDs, I wouldn't sweat it. But I would like to see further experiments with this, where they actually account for the day length. With the Fluval 3.0, you can set all that on your phone, and you can upload different patterns, basically, for all the different warm light, cool light, all that stuff. And so I would love to see what you're able to do triggering wise. It'd just be very interesting. Also, by the way, thank you, mods. You guys rock, and I so appreciate you guys being here. All right, let's see here. So the next fish news you probably won't use is that at the University of Exeter, just like humans trying to stick to New Year's resolutions, guppies, Posilia wingii, they have varying levels of self-control. This is kind of a silly article. It's interesting, but to me it's also kind of funny. Comes the chat. Like, I don't know what happened. The chat was lagging, so if I missed something, just let me know. Also, my face looks so shiny, but I think it's just because I'm down low and all these lights are on me. But I look like I'm 15 again with shiny, gross face. Yeah. If you have the Fluval Aqua Sky or the Aqueon Sky, both of those do the whole lightning flash thing. Why not give it a try if you're doing a water change of like 50 or 60%, and you're going to drop the temperature 10 degrees, and you're going to feed high protein food for 2 weeks before, and then you got that for plecos, for cories, for cribs. That's a great little trick that works really well. I've not bred samurai gourami. I wish I had. I want some samurai gourami. They're too expensive locally. They're like $25, but I really do want some. When I move, that's on the top of the list. That and chocolate gouramis again, which I've had in croaking. I love all the little gouramis. But in any case, the University of Exeter and guppy self-control. So studying the behavior of Trinidadian wild guppy populations, they've found that there is a inhibitory control hormone and gene that suppresses unhelpful impulses or urges. The tiny fish learned how to swim into a cylinder to get food. Then a cover was removed, and the cylinder becomes transparent. The inhibitory control, how much they could control their inhibitions, it's kind of like being drunk if you're a guppy, I guess, was measured by whether a guppy resisted the urge to swim towards the food, bumping into the cylinder, the clear cylinder, or whether it swam around it, relying on its previous education of the fact that it can't go through the clear wall. And it said that they found that now it's known that in fish, they've seen it in a wide range, they've seen it in cichlids, but findings are consistent among each individual guppy that they, in their population, on average, it says half are able to control their impulse to go straight for food. And this could come into play where there's predators, for instance. They see food, they want food. Versus, I mean, you have to make a choice, and that requires more than instinct. That requires a little bit of thinking, even if it's simple or simplistic thinking. The act of the fish saying, I can't go out there right now, or I can't show off for this female because there's predators around, it's a big deal. And so self-control is one that can get you killed if you don't have it. So it's just interesting to me that in total it says the fish inhibited the fish inhibited the urge to swim directly at the food in 28% of the trials. So about 1/4 of the guppy males that they tried could decide, I'm not going to go run for the food. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to swim around the clear cylinder rather than hitting it and trying to go for it. But the most interesting thing here to me is that no improvement was seen over time. So in this researcher, Professor Darren Croft of University of Exeter said, the first step to understanding how it works was to realize that they are not getting better over time. Guppies live in small rivers alongside predators. For example, they might need the ability to hide and resist the urge to leave that hiding spot for a long while, even with food swimming by and tempting them. The next step in the research is to examine the extent to which these traits affect guppies, whether it helps their survival chance. So they track them in the wild with identification. So boy, speaking of drinking and all this, what I was just talking about, the resisting the urge to drink, those guppies, they even have self-control issues. I'm going to look at my guppies differently. They got self-control issues. Who took the cookie from the cookie jar? The guppy took the cookie from the cookie jar. Alright, so moving on to the next story. Amazingly, in the 2 to 3 million years it took 14 species of finch to evolve on the Galapagos Islands, over 1,000 species of cichlids evolved in Lake Malawi alone. The Great Lakes of East Africa, the Rift Lakes as I call them, as they're kind of known here. This article's from India, so it's a little different. Or never mind, it's from Israel maybe? We'll find out in a sec. And the last few million years of ancestral lineages of cichlid fish have independently radiated and given rise to over 2,000 species from the river, the Nile headwaters, and then also up above the Rift Lakes, feeding into the Rift Lakes, which are ancient lakes. So this came out on my birthday, actually. It actually came out in January, not this month. Sorry, guys. It's not actually February 2021 fish news. But Earlham Institute. I don't really know where that is. Let's see. Oh, never mind. It's I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay. You guys can look at it later if you want. But it shows that genetic rewiring or non-coding regions rather than mutations may play an important role. So how cichlids are able to rapidly adapt. So we know that since tilapia were released, like Nile perch and tilapia were released in the 1950s and 60s in the Rift Lakes, we know that that has killed a lot of biodiversity in those lakes. And so some of the fish that were in those lakes probably died without ever being discovered. Others made it to the hobby and they're in captivity, but no one can find them in the Rift Lakes anymore. They're just no longer there. Well, this finds that there are actually 14 species that they found in the hobby that have just evolved that quickly. So in 60 years or less, they've been able to change their form and color and shape and specialization so much that you can't even tell that they're the same species. And so I find that interesting. It said Darwin's famous finches are the most well-known example of evolution by natural selection in the classic sense, specifically adaptive radiation. The birds observed on the Galapagos archipelago had differences in their beaks that matched to fit specific feeding habits. So, ones that needed to eat nuts and things had big, strong, cracking beaks, and others, like hummingbirds, had little teeny beaks for nectar and flowers and things like that. That's not a finch, but you know what I mean. But amazingly, it took 2 to 3 million years for the 14 species of finch on the Galapagos, whereas it took less than 1,000 for the Great Lakes. There's over 2,000 species in those lakes. They occupy a really large diversity of freshwater ecological niches in the lake. Rivers and even swamps includes sandy substrates, mud bottoms, rock bottoms, plant-covered bottoms, and as a result, they have all adapted very differently to dietary habits and niches. However, it has been a mystery as to why this speciation occurred so quickly, whereas it doesn't in other areas, such as in islands. By looking at gene expressions across different cichlid tissues in 5 of the main species groups, East African rivers outside of those Great Lakes, they were able to find that there were links between all those species in the lake and 5 of those main fish. They must have shared an ancestor or evolved from those species. It says the team discovered that evolutionary rewiring of several important genes linked to adaptability, possibly those having to do with moving from salt to freshwater. So like trout and salmon, there's a whole, 10 types of them basically. The same fish is a steelhead, is a rainbow trout, is a salmon out at sea. They're all just kind of different forms of the same species that's mutated over time or gets landlocked. Same with Chinook, or not Chinook, kokanee salmon or trout, however you want to call it. But they changed after the Ice Age. They got trapped, or they were able to get into areas where glaciers once blocked it. But it's interesting because it says that because the fish shared only 5 common ancestors there, even 1,000 years ago, those 5 fish were able to get to so many different little niches, and those fish already had a predisposition, being that they're fish. And there's another article we're going to talk about in just a second here, that they were able to spread out and take up each little spot with the adaptations. Now, it probably goes because they're also, they evolve faster, in that they can have babies more often and more of the babies than birds. Fish can lay thousands of eggs. Birds can lay, I don't know, half a dozen. Dr. Pepper, sponsor me so this never happens again. Rest in peace, Dr. Pepper bottle. Alright, so next on the useless fish news you will probably not use. We've got that ancient fish fossils reveal evolutionary origins of the human hand. There's been an ancient fossil found in Canada, it reveals new insights into how the human hand evolved from fish fins. I don't know if Joey's still in here or fake name or any of y'all Canadians. You Canucks, you Canuck spies are in here still. But let's see which university did it. We've got and I know. Hold on, let's get this gimbal stable. And I know that Isabel's in here. Oops, that's not a stable gimbal, Alex. It's not stable if you drop it, is it now? It might be scrambling. You guys, let me know if you can even read this text. It says that El Pistagi fish fossils found in Miguasha, Canada. I'm totally saying that wrong, I'm sure. Migasha, Miguasha. I don't know how to say it. This place in Canada. Miguasha. Miguasha. Migusha. I don't know. I quit. I'm done. That an international team of paleontologists from Flinders University in Australia and the Université de Quebec Rimouski in Canada have revealed that the fish specimen found in the fossil, and this was in the journal Nature, has yielded the missing evolutionary link in the fish to tetrapod transition. We finally have it, folks. As fish began to forage into habitats such as shallow water and land during the late Devonian period, millions of years ago, it shows this complete 1.57 meter long fish. Wow, that's good sized fish. That's like a 4.5 foot long fish or so. Maybe 5 foot long fish almost. Shows the complete arm, the pectoral fin skeleton for the first time in any epistologian fish. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, guys. Due to CT scans, the skeleton of the pectoral fin revealed the presence of a humerus, radius, and ulna. So that's our arm, our forearm. Also, rows of carpus, so the wrist, and the phalanges organized in digits of 5. The fingers. The specimen, which reveals extraordinary new information about the evolutionary of the vertebrate hand. Even in horses, we know that the hooves actually have all the pieces of a hand. So things have evolved into having... They all had these 5 pieces in the fish body. They grew arms, and then if they became mammals or they moved to land, I mean, this is way back, they kept that system of 5. Now, sometimes the bone is super teeny tiny, or sometimes you only see it in the early development of like an embryo, and it's actually kind of it's gone, and that's how we can grow teeth on chickens. If you guys remember Fish News this summer, we were talking about bringing back dinosaurs. Is they're able to give scales and a tail and like basically the skin around a chicken's eye, that kind of gross skin that's leathery and scaly. They're able to actually get it back to scales by turning on certain epigenetics. This fossil was from the Middle and Upper Devonian, 393 million to 359 million. That's kind of a range years ago. The specific epoch range was known as the Epistostegalians. Epistostegalians, apparently. And the specimen was found up in Tiktaalik in the Arctic of Canada. But it's much earlier than we thought that there were 5 appendages in the fish structure. So that's interesting. It was believed to be the largest predator living in shallow, fresh marine water. This is another thing. They think that the hands evolved in freshwater fish rather than ocean fish. So maybe the lakes were shrinking in size and they needed to go out for food. I don't know, just a thought. But it had powerful, sharp fangs and could have fed upon several larger extinct lobe-finned fish as well as bony rayed fish. Bony rayed fish? Bony rayed fish. And was originally named for the part of the skull that it had that reminded somebody of the cliffs of the national park. I guess that's where the name came from. Described first in 1938, this is the first time they've found a whole version of that tetrapod, that fish creature. And in 85 they found it, but they couldn't image the hand. This time now they were able, a specimen found in 2010, they were able to figure out, and they found that. So we now know where the first hands may have evolved. So interesting. Now, another one that we've got in the fish news you won't use is eyes reveal life history of fish popping. I copy and pasted that wrong. Eye-popping research reveals information on the eyes and the life history of salmon in floodplain management. This one wasn't super interesting, I'm not going to lie, but it tied in, and it was talking about how freshwater fish and saltwater fish develop very different lenses in their eyes, and that the life of a salmon can actually be studied by cutting away the membrane in their eye. We knew that we could use their otolith. I think that's what it's called, otolith. Lith means stone, but they have a little bone in their inner ear that gets layers, just like a tree ring. And unlike tuna and other fish, or even in like whales and things, there's a version similar. But there's a thing inside the inner ear of a lot of these creatures, and they're able to actually cut away at those layers and examine how thick they were, how much, I don't know, calcium there is. I don't know the specifics of it, how they check it. But yeah, it's very similar to like reading the rings on a tree. Yeah, otolith. Okay, thanks, Randy. Also, PJ Cole, thanks very much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Good to see you. And Rigel, thank you so much. Chevy Muppet, thank you guys for running the links and the thanks down below. I really appreciate it. Members also, thank you guys. I really, really do appreciate you all. Today, my heart is full of. Is my heart here? Yeah, it's here. I think it's here. I don't know. It stopped beating years ago. But it's just full of gratitude. So, yeah. Let's see here. So, yeah, it says they've now figured out a technique in which they can track threatened and endangered fish by looking at the fish corpses after the salmon have spawned. Even the nerdiest fish biologist, it says, you can do what with fish eyes? A researcher at Fisheries Southwestern Fisheries Science Center at UC Davis, again, UC Davis, there is an exciting new tool we can use to measure the value of different habitats and focus on conservation. Much like tree rings, fish eyeballs have an archival history. The lenses grow in layers throughout a fish's life, recording chemical signatures in the habitat that occurred while it was growing that layer. We can tell what the fish ate during that period of time. I'm assuming they're doing GSM, what is it, GS/M S, so a gas chronometer mass spectrometry, which is when they turn something into a gas, like they take the eyeball, they take a little sample of the year that they wanted on the tree ring of the eyeball of the salmon, and they're able to see that in the winter of the salmon's second year, that it had a ton of fat in its diet, for instance. And the way they do that is they take the little piece, they grind it up, and then they turn it into a gas, into a plasma. And that tells them all the atomic elements that are in that sample. So that's the gas chronometry. Mass spectrometer is that when they take that gas and they shine a laser light through it, and what comes out is what goes through it, and what's reflected back gets sensed, and they're able to tell what atoms are there, and from that they can then decide what molecules are there, and so they can literally tell you, this is actually how they do drug testing. That's how they test human urine for drugs, like specifically, other than the little quick tests. But they can also test for, poisons. They can test for cyanide. They can test for, it says they're able to study breadcrumbs in the eye layers, such as carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, lipids, proteins. So they're able to tell, as well as unique carbon values and radioactive ions. So they're also able to find unique signatures from all over the world. So they know certain places have like certain radioactive isotopes, and then they can figure out where that salmon's been from that, because we have an archive of that. So this is why it's so important to have the interdisciplinary sciences, because maybe it's someone studying radioactive isotopes at a nuclear power plant, or for a nuclear power plant site purpose, and they happen to have the archive of all that, and then someone finds radioactive isotopes in salmon, and they're like, well, how can I tell where this thing's been? And they say, well, just go to the archive, and then they're able to plot it out. So things like that, there's sciences that we may think are so obscure, like, why would you ever want that? But this is why we need to work together to uplift all the sciences. Still in your big snout. A big shout out, big snout out to everyone in the house. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. It's good to see you here. So it says eyes and ears work together. So yeah, the otoliths tell another story of harder, different molecules, harder. So like carbon, calcium, and metals, whereas the other one tells them like all the way to like what they ate, fats. You can tell whether it was insects or a bunch of bugs, whether they were starving during that time. So that's pretty interesting. Now the next one, we've got 3 more stories in tonight's fish news you probably won't use, but the next one I find incredibly fascinating, which is that we are able to take ambient DNA from a stream. Let's see, what did I write? I wrote a little summary. DNA in streams plus electric fish finding. So this is basically, they figured out a way to send an electric signal, and they actually studied the ghost knife fish, and were able to figure out, by studying the ghost knife fish, how it senses other fish in the environment, and how it senses other electrical signals. So then scientists have found that sampling stream water for evidence of the presence of various species, they can use the electricity, but now they can also use environmental DNA, known as eDNA, lowercase e and then DNA. It can be more accurate than the electrofishing methods without disrupting fish. But then they can combine them. And so what this has done, the eDNA is insane, and that allows them to take the water sample, and then they just run it through like little bits at a time, and they'll find, a fish scale here, waste from a fish here, a log here, tissue or bone that's like teeny tiny, like little teeny, 5-6 molecules of the thing. And they're able to then extract DNA from the stream at large, from bigger samples of water. What I'm curious about is how much water they need, and like what they're able, like if they need a bunch of sediment or how that works. But they're doing it right now to study trout as well as invasive fish. This was from the University of Oregon, just south of me, down by Kenny. Also, Laura, did I see another super chat? Laura Sutton, thank you so much. The cute little fox or dog or whatever it is. I don't know. Is it a dog? Is it a corgi? Is it a fox? Is it a red tree raccoon? Or, no, red panda. Sorry, they're not called tree raccoons. All raccoons are tree raccoons. Scientists in Oregon have been sampling stream water evidence to preserve various species in the environment. It's a revolutionary way to do fish ecology work, and all ecology work for that matter. You can identify species from a single 16-ounce bottle of water using genetic tools. When you go out to the site, you can tell what's in the stream just based on the bottle of water, says lead author of the article published last Wednesday. And then it doesn't give their name. Great. That's funny. Determining how far upstream fish are present is very crucial for guiding forest management practices, as well as building permits, how much, like, you can have a septic tank. You can drain various things, if you can use nitrates in your farming, if you can have farming and manure next to the stream. So it'll be really key to understand what fish are in those streams, how high up, and what barriers they've gotten past. And so it is in my head that after this, I would follow this article if you're interested in this stuff. But I almost guarantee you that in the next few years, we'll be able to work on not just the DNA from a water bottle, ambient DNA with little pieces, but I bet the sediment for at least a few thousand years we'll be able to test. And in different soil regions and things, I bet we'll be able to know, oh, there's a little bit of deer poop, there's a little bit of rabbit poop, there's a little bit of fox poop, and we'll be able to do the same thing for all sorts of different ecosystems. But research sampling for eDNA has been used for over a decade. However, it was not widely accurate because we did not have those databases. So yet again, this is why we need to encourage that interdisciplinary data collecting. Researchers chose 60 coastal streams in Oregon and Washington and conducted eDNA samplings, while another team, without access to the information from Team A, collected information while using the electrofishing method. 50 meters to 250 meters upstream of the last fish seen in the stream report recorded by the researchers. They found that streams where electrofishing detected no trout still had a 45% chance that there had a DNA signature of there being trout DNA coming downstream. And that's very important in streams because it's not going to be going upstream. It could have, I guess, from a year before died and then decomposed and been coming down from the water, but basically it means that fish were up there at some point. And they probably have a way to radiocarbon date, or probably not carbon, but there's probably another way that they're dating this to make sure that it's from that season. But I just think that's fascinating that they're able to do that. And who knows, where that will help us next in the world or in what field. I mean, it's how we're able to know what people ate. We take the pulp of their teeth. They're not going to be able to figure out anything from me after I get my dentures. But you can take the pulp of a tooth, grind it up, put it through that plasma process, shine a light through it like Dark Side of the Moon, out comes the other side, and they get a read of all the things that were in it, and then they can say, oh, you know what, wheat is made of those molecules in that amount, and so is beef fat, or whatever. So then they can tell you that person, this, as an archaeologist, this is what when I was coming through school, this was brand new technology, but they were able to figure out through both DNA and that in teeth, they were figuring out, oh wow, we've got Neanderthal DNA in humans. Oh wow, we were eating the same things, and these teeth were used for eating this kind of meat, not just from the bite marks and things, but from it actually is in the core of the tooth still from when the humans were developing. So the next article, second to the last, DNA water used to uncover genes of invasive fish. So this was Cornell University as well as Princeton. Proof of concept. Researchers were able to find in Cuyahoga Lake, they were able to find the presence of nuisance rock rollers and gudgeons as well as sunfish. So this is really interesting. We will not have to spend hours and hours and thousands or millions of dollars searching lakes with researchers or putting a bounty out there for the fishing community or a hunting community. If you see a blank, bring it in and let us know. Like if you catch a fish with a microchip, it'll have its peduncle cut off, or its what's it called? The little fin on whatever. I forget the name right now. But they clip a fin on, like, for instance, trout or salmon if they're farm raised or if they're genetically altered at all. And then if you see that fin has been clipped, then you know that there's a microchip in the head of the fish or in the neck of the fish. And you can bring it into the Fish and Wildlife Department and get $40 or $50 or $10. Adipose fin. Thank you so much, Chevy Fish. Appreciate it very much, my friend. So, and it doesn't really hurt the fish at all to do that, but it's a way then that they can track things, and that's how they do it. Well, now they don't even have to catch the fish, they don't have to raise them, they don't have to release them. They're going to be able to tell what's in the lake by just scooping up a water bottle in the outflow of the lake, and they'll know what fish are there. I mean, that seems like it could have a lot of false positives, especially while it's new, but that is some incredible, really cool new technology. All right. The last thing that I found, don't want to get too controversial here, but it says, why do animals of the same sex court the same sex? It says, this behavior in animal has puzzled evolutionary biologists since it doesn't carry the same benefits as cross-gender courtships do. However, in guppies, for instance, the study was about guppies, there's new studies that are shedding light, and this is an amalgam, this article is an amalgam of a bunch of studies on birds, on guppies, on beetles. There's a beetle that they talk about for way too long in this article. But basically, what they said is that male guppies, actually most of them, I can probably show you this right now, in Endlers, they spend most of their time showing off. It doesn't matter if it's for each other. Like these males, they'll pester females. She had her babies, good. But the males here, look, they're still bugging her. She just had all these babies. She's like flat in the belly. Where are all the babies? There's probably a backup in there. But the males will show off for each other now. All the time. These two males, they were just showing off for each other. This is a young male showing off to the older male. And they've recorded that males show off to each other more often than they show off to females, spending about 58 to 60% of their dancing time showing off to other male endlers. Now, why would they do this? Well, evolutionary biologists had always figured that it was because, and even I've read this on the recent fish news, was because it basically shows how tough they are, how strong and sturdy and how much stamina they have if these males are dancing, and the females then notice them and out of the corner of their eye, they're like, wow, those guys are still dancing with each other. They're still have the energy to keep going. But it turns out that now they're realizing that it's actually not just competing, but that the female members, so their siblings, have an attraction to the males. So they're more likely to willingly breed with the males by a large margin. So basically, if you've got a group of male guppies, and for some reason guppies have a lot of male on male dancing that happens, but other fish it's rare. But what they've found is across all these species, beetles, fish, that now they started looking genetically for a reason. And they found that the siblings of these fish that dance for, that do the mating dance for their own gender more often, and that doesn't mean that they're homosexual fish necessarily. I mean, this doesn't have to do with actual mating necessarily. It's more the dancing. It's more the, what do you call it? The act of doing that. I don't know if they have actually looked into the whole that bit, because that could get contentious. People would then probably start applying the implications to humans and things like that. But basically, the interesting thing about that is, so the sisters of all these males, when they're displaying, the sisters are more likely to just go right up to the males and spawn with those males. Marion says, evolution-wise, maybe it just gives the females a break. I could totally see that. Because males drive the female. In guppies, they are relentless. And boys showing off for boys, the definition of your 12-year-old nephew's life. Yes, 100% Ginger. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons that these things could be happening. But I do find it interesting that across all the different species and kingdoms, or not kingdoms, but phylums, so like, you know, fish, birds, mammals, they found that the siblings of, so the brothers of females that show off for each other, or the sisters of brothers that show off for each other all the time, are far, far, far more fertile and far more likely to have more babies and to mate more regularly, like faster. So the implication that immediately people are going to draw here, and I'm not going to get into it whatsoever on thoughts or opinions, y'all can do this on your own, is that, so if you have a homosexual fish, or you have a fish that dances for other fish at least, a cross-dressing fish, no. Those sneaker males are a whole different thing. This is why sex and gender is so complicated and fascinating. And it's not simple, even in fish, where you think, oh, there's just two genders. Oh, well, then there's sneaker males. Oh, wait, what? There's fish that can change their gender? Oh, man, that makes it complicated. But in any case, so what we would be wondering next is, all right, so we've got fish here that are, oh, by the way, this is a hybrid erythromicron that we couldn't zoom in on last time. And you can see here, much less vivid markings. It's a celestial pearl. There's a real erythromicron or emerald dwarf rasbora mixed with a celestial pearl danio. And you can see the hybrids because they're bigger. See how big he is? He's got the black dot on his caudal peduncle too. But in any case, so even if it's, you know, these CPDs showing off for each other, the females and males showing off for each other, the sibling from the same batch will be very fertile of the so-called, I don't know, I don't want to call them homosexual because they're not. It doesn't mean that they're hooking up with the same gender of fish. But it's interesting. I think it's just practice. My tank full of males is a tank full of wishful thinking. Yeah. Can detritus worms hurt fire red shrimp? No, David, don't worry about detritus worms. Detritus worms, no problem for fish or shrimp. Just delicious. Yeah, actually, I have a bunch of detritus worms in this tank right now, and I was excited because that means that I can put baby fish in there. See, I've got some fry in here, and they can now go into this shrimp tank and eat the detritus worms for me. Where is everybody? There's like a baby shrimp. This is my green jade shrimp tank. By the way, I'm going to mention it one more time. Aquatic Arts. I'm going to get a new code, I think, sometime next week. So we'll probably have a new code for... we'll probably have a new code for saving money with them if you guys want to do so. Also, the other thing that I'm trying to do is come up with a few different places where we could, the most recent video I did that it was on the, what do you want to call, the native fish. It was a big hit. I mean, it still is. It's still getting views. And everyone's asking, where can I get native this or that? Where can I get the darters? Where can I get the dace? Where can I get, you know, stone rollers, whatever it is? And the answer is there is a place called Noah's Aquatics that I've bought from. That's where I got my Elastomas from. But I want to find you guys a discount. So I am in the process of looking for a discount for y'all, and really hoping to be able to pass that on. So stay tuned for that. I'll post more information on that whenever I get it. If I can get you guys, you know, a 10% discount on some place that sells local wild caught or tank raised but Native American, North American, and United States native fish. So I'll let you guys know. And lastly, I'm going to get off of here because I think actually James Fishroom Fever and then Chattanooga Ed, I think they're tag teaming it tonight after me right now. And so I probably cut into their time again because I'm a terrible person. No, I'm just used to this time for years. And let's see. But see if they're streaming next. But definitely check out, if you haven't checked out Chattanooga Ed yet, he's really close to that 1,000 mark, and he does a good job content-wise. He goes out, he wants to show, you know, the Tennessee aquariums that are around him, the native fish. He's got a really killer fish room. So I just recommend you guys check it out. It's a smaller channel. I always like to shout out the channels that are doing it well. Fishroom Fever is right now, so I'm going to stop my yapping. But you guys, thank you so much for everything you do, for the lurkers, for you guys who have comments. We'll do another stream Tuesday probably that is more like Q&A if you guys have issues you need help with. But I'm pretty good at writing back people in the comments. But thank you so much for all the super chats tonight. And again, that was fish news you probably won't use. But the links are in the community tab. And this month, everyone can see them again. But community members, you guys will always get them, the full articles and the links to them, and to the original documents if you follow those links I put together. All right, guys, if you want to see Fishroom Fever, and then that usually is James, and then it goes to Chattanooga Ed afterwards. James is already monetized, but if you like him, check him out too. He's a great guy. They're both very knowledgeable. And yeah, and then on tomorrow night, Danikin Aquatics is giving away shrimp. So stay tuned there if you've subscribed to Chattanooga Ed, and then you want to do the giveaway thing. He'll be probably drawing from his subscribers, I would assume. I think it's 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. tomorrow night Pacific time. But in any case, guys, it was great seeing you. You guys can look up Danikin Aquatics and what time he's streaming tomorrow, and hopefully Chattanooga Ed will hit that 1,000 mark. It'd make me happy. I remember when I got monetized, even if you're not bringing in money, you know, even if it's just the fact that someone can super chat you and you get one, it feels so good to know that someone says, you know what, I want you to keep making this content, and it's a vote of confidence, and it means a lot. And so that's why I always try to super chat to smaller channels. As soon as they get monetized, you can better bet I'm going to stop by and drop some super chats. So, all right, you guys, Yes, Marion, that's a great point. You could use that eDNA to check for parasites in the water and also figure out treatments and things. Totally true. Chevy Fish, thanks. And also, Chubbs, good to see you, brother. I'll talk to you later. I'll probably be in chats later tonight for folks who are wanting to hang out and talk. Thanks again, and it was awesome to see Joey, King of DIY, stopping in. Unexpected, always crazy things always happen. So remember to take care of your fish, take care of your plants, and you know, take care of the people around you. But always take care of yourself as well, because if you don't do that, you can't take care of the other things. And I think if all of us did those things half the time, our world would be twice as nice of a place. So I will talk to you guys later. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you members, donators, lurkers, mods. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Bye.